It's Tuesday, November 14, 2023. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday News here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Noble Crosby Annan. The bulletin is coming to you live from our studios here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. We're live also on all our social media platforms at 3FM 927 plus on 3news.com. Coming up this afternoon, government and representatives of labor unions race against time to conclude negotiations on base pay for public sector workers ahead of the 2024 budget presentation. After meeting on Monday ended inconclusive. We're live to the meeting. Also this afternoon, Supreme Court gives NDC flag bearer John Dramani Mahama all clear to contest the 2024 general elections after I dismissed a case challenging the eligibility of former President John Dramani Mahama to contest the 2024 polls. We have details of these stories and more coming to you shortly. Stay with us. Welcome to the program. My name is Noble Crosby Annan. This afternoon, government and representatives of labor unions, they are locked up in a crunch meeting to determine the level of increment on the base pay ahead of the presentation of the 2024 budget statement on Wednesday, November 15. Now, labor is demanding more than 30% salary increment, which government is yet to consider. Today's meeting comes after the discussions ended inconclusively on Monday. Labor correspondent Daniel Opoku spoke to Dr. Isaac Bampewado, the Executive Secretary of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana, CLOCSAG, as well as Joshua Ansah, the Deputy Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress, after yesterday's meeting.
We are still negotiating and we hope to conclude tomorrow. So have a little patience. Tomorrow we'll give you the feedback.
But the last meeting you were giving 30%. Is this something that you are going higher?
Well, wait till tomorrow and then we'll give you what we have for our people.
We should wait till tomorrow before you tell us what you have for your people.
Exactly.
So obviously you are going for about 32 or 35%.
It's going to be something very good.
When you say something very good, what does that mean?
Well, your guess is as good as mine. So our people should be relaxed. We are negotiating for them. Everything will be okay. Thank you very much.
My final question to you, Doc.
Yeah.
Looking at your judgment on the minimum wage, does that serve as a base for the base pay negotiation? Because we are hearing about 45%. Is this something that you are going higher or within the 45%?
Of course, yes. The minimum wage is a guide to the base pay. So it's going to the minimum wage is going to determine the base pay.
So obviously then labor is starting on 45%.
I don't know what the minimum wage is.
That was my colleague Daniel Opoku interacting with Isaac Bampewado, the Executive Secretary of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana. Now take a listen to Joshua Ansah. He is the Deputy Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress after yesterday's meeting.
I think that the meeting started on a good note, but unfortunately we couldn't finish. It has been adjourned and we are meeting again tomorrow.
Were there some instances where there were anger or something of that sort?
Oh, there's nothing of that. There's nothing of that sort. There's nothing of that sort. It's only that we couldn't conclude and you will continue tomorrow.
I understand. Are you getting something better for labor?
No, definitely negotiations should come up with something better. So we are expecting something better for labor and for government itself.
So 30% more than that?
I don't want to talk about percentage. Last year we had 30%. Last year we had 30%. And this is negotiations. And you know that if you say better, what do you mean? What is your understanding of better?
Improvement on the 30%.
Improvement on the 30%.
Exactly.
Let's see how it goes, please. Let's see how it goes.
What figures have government been tabled so far?
Oh, my Dan. I say let's move on. Let's move on tomorrow. You will get to know where we get to tomorrow when we meet.
So you are sure that you will finish before the presentation of the budget?
That is our wish. That's our wish, but let's see.
Well, that was the voice of Joshua Ansah, the Deputy Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress, interacting with my colleague Daniel Opoku. We'll be speaking with Daniel Opoku shortly, but we're still staying on issues on the 2024 budget because the minority in Parliament, as well as some other members of parliament. As the finance minister prepares to give his first fiscal policy document after seeking an IMF bailout on Thursday, members of parliament have been expressing varied reactions on what the components of the budget should be. Will he consider the suggestions these members of parliament are making to government? Here are some of them speaking ahead of the presentation by the finance minister on the 2024 budget and what the expectations are. We'll be bringing you that soundbite shortly, but we'll be touching base with my colleague Komla Kluche also shortly. But still, with issues concerning the budget, just 2 years ago, after the total scrapping of the toll system to make way for the electronic transaction levy, also known as e-levy, government earlier this year announced the reintroduction of road tolls on some selected roads in the country. Now, with barely 24 hours to the 2024 budget presentation by the finance minister, my colleague George Quainin reports some road users want the toll system restored.
So no dey say samba back ya nyina eboa economy no ge beboa mum adegodi ntia ma ye yesu ni say de kwan na si atutuo no kwan na si aseye no ebi ase di to boot na edetimi aboa ma aban enso ensa timi aye mremremre no otimi aboa ma kwan na ye samba because say omo di to boot na omo di da to boot yi na omo de beboa bi say na edoso enye we nko na edoso wo Ghana e no ma jani nyina amamfo firi Mali ehimfa cars no omo nyina cars ene na mo ha country bi kura no kwa to boot sika no mo de maintenance bia e ba ka be boy pa because cash akese no beble omu tu duties bia no aso mo de cash akese ne nam kwan so mo se kwan no eti se cash akese ne be twa boy e ma kwan no yeso enie enti meto ne ba be boy nyina o traffic ne de no ma e ba emuru su bia e betimi afomafo e no ma ma ye
to no e ba be boy pa say o twa tom say traffic de no ma o fa ba bia na dia you face traffic ma bla to no you can say traffic in dinner to ne fi wo dia and me to ne ba dia e be boy man.
Well, those were the voices of some road users, and clearly they are in support of the restoration of the toll system. Speaking in Akan, the reason that was given by the drivers is that if the argument is the toll system will create a lot of traffic situations on the road, they say they are already experiencing terrible traffic on various parts of the road, and hence it cannot be blamed on the road toll system. This is a subject that my colleague George Quainin has been paying attention to. He's joining us with some more updates. George Quainin, thank you so much for joining us on the program. We've heard from the drivers clearly in support of the restoration of the road tolls, but talk to us more about what the situation is on the various roads you visited this morning.
Yeah, Crosby, thanks for having me. Good afternoon. And like you rightly said, the subject is on the road toll system. And as you're aware, before the presentation of the 2022 budget in 2021, facilities like the toll booth would have been filled with people or vehicles trying to pay their toll because they are flying the public road or the bridges. We have about 37 toll booths across the country, and these facilities were closed down, and that was closed down for the introduction of the e-levy. So government was not able to realize whatever revenue it was expecting from the e-levy. It's a reason this year March they have really reintroduced the toll system. But speaking to the motorists here, they are welcoming the decision, of course, and they feel it will just go a long way with the revenues that we have put to the toll booth system. We will use that money to really expand the roads, because most of the roads that have these toll systems on them are very deplorable, and so with the funds that we get from them, it can be used to, expand these, facilities. So for them, it's a good call. But if you recall, in the same year that it was abolished, some MP scribes like John Boyd, who was the executive general of the party, justified the fact that the scrapping of the toll system was in the right direction, because for him, not all vehicles, about 30% of vehicles in the country pay the toll, and so abolishing it was in the right direction. And some 78 million citizens was accused from all the toll systems. So it was better. It was it was abolished. But the question is, if we are going to reintroduce the toll system, what happens to the controversial e-levy? Because the abolishment of the toll system, you introduce the aliens. These are some of the questions some motorists want answers to. Crosby.
George Queening, thank you so much for your time with us on the program. George Queening is our correspondent following up on the story. Let's speak with Edward Duncan, who is the secretary to former Toll Booth Workers Union. Now, this group, their members were 2 years ago laid off working at the toll booths because the collection of road tolls was scrapped by the government. Now, a lot of calls are being made to government to restore the collection of tolls. Edward, thank you so much for joining us on the program. I'm sure these calls are pleasing to your ears.
Yes, they are. And that is, it reiterates the call that we've made ever since. I mean, from the onset when this toll booth saga started, we sent a petition to Parliament. In the petition, we sought to draw their attention to the fact that the decision that they have taken is the wrong one, so they should reverse it. In that toll collection generates a lot of revenue for the country, and you don't need too much money to operate the toll system because the facilities are already there. The operational cost to toll work is very minimal if you compare it to the revenue that is accrued from toll collection. It's about between 5 to 10% of the money that is collected. So we made them understand that this is the wrong decision that they have taken. And then also we asked them a proverbial question. I mean, if you have water in your bucket, it's half full, and then you see that it's going to rain, and you decide to throw the water away, expecting that it will rain into the bucket. What if it doesn't rain? So in our petition, we made them understand all this, but unfortunately, the government did not listen to our plea to reverse that decision. So if now they want to reintroduce toll, it's a welcome news to us. However, we are a bit skeptical because this announcement was made a couple of months back, and up to now, the government has not taken any steps that we can see to tell us that or give us an indication that they really mean what they are saying. It also goes to say, I mean, the government have said in this toll booth issue, they have said a whole lot of things that they have not come through or followed through. They said that they're going to find alternate livelihood for us as the workers. They're going to give us another employment. They have not done that. They said that until they give us that alternate livelihood, they're going to pay us every month. They have not done that. About 800 of us, as it is now, are home doing nothing. And the closure of the toll was through no fault of ours. It was just a policy, change of policy direction by the government. So we don't understand why that has to affect our livelihood,
right?
And affect our dependents as well.
But Duncan, for your members, the members in your group, how prepared are they to return to the toll booths if this is something that government considers in the presentation of the 2024 budget?
Well, we're ever ready. I mean, it's just like a toll work. You know, it comes with speed, and then you should be able to, I mean, calculate easily on your feet quickly, and then give your change and all that. It's like if you know how to ride a bike, and you don't ride for a couple of years. I mean, as soon as you get on the bike, I'm sure all the skills and the finesse will come. So we have it already. It's enough. We're well prepared for when the government decides that they're going to bring it back. Just start, like I said, we're a bit skeptical, but in the event the government decides to bring it back, we're ever ready to go back and work and contribute our culture to the development of the country.
Duncan, thank you so much for joining us on the program. Edward Duncan is secretary for former Toll Booth Workers Union, speaking with us there on the expectations that government reintroduces the toll booth system. However, they are quite skeptical about it. Let's hear from some members of parliament ahead of the presentation of the 2024 budget by the finance minister. Will he consider the suggestions that some quarters are making, from individuals to CSOs to members of parliament themselves? Here are some of them speaking ahead of the presentation.
I didn't know, I'm very excited. Number one, I'm excited because this is Kevin Fodota's last budget. Ghana will gain independence, financial independence from Kevin. Kevin Fodota will go after this budget, but to me, to be sincere with you, there's no budget. The man is not coming to say anything. What is he coming to say? What has he spent? What is the income? What is it talking about? What is going on in Ghana? A dead economy. Ghana is dead. We are happy that after this budget, can we go away and Ghana will gain independence and Ghana will resurrect again?
I expect a good budget, as they've been doing always. The finance minister have been delivering all the time. So clearly, I don't expect any other thing than for him coming to deliver again. This year's budget, I'm going to 2024 budget, should be a budget that is going to help our economic growth financially. It's going to be more of stability and development budget. It's going to be a budget that really, we're going to see a lot of ease on Ghanaians.
Well, those were some opinions sampled by my colleague Komla Kluche in Parliament. Komla Kluche is joining us with some more on the expectations of members of Parliament ahead of the presentation by the Finance Minister. Komla Kluche, thank you for joining us in the program. Good afternoon to you. The opinions are varied there. Some say it will be a good budget. Some other MPs are also saying that it is as good as nothing. Talk to us about what is happening in Parliament ahead of tomorrow.
Well, on the side of the minority, just like we have heard, they are incensed about any intention for the introduction of taxes. They do not want that to happen. They actually do want the government to address some of the issues. Even with the existing taxes, they are demanding a review of it. For the majority, for them, what is going to come would indicate a better recovery of the economy, in as much as the country is before the IMF now. Mind you, we missed the dispense of the second tranche of the IMF money, and so there are indications that yes, these consultations, which are ongoing, would go a long way, factoring into consideration how the budget itself would play out. So on the side of the majority, yes, it's something that's going to be good. It's something that would also show recovery in terms of the economy. So they see everything good about the intentions of the finance minister in the budget statement that is yet to even be brought to the House. So it's a normal or usual thing that goes on with both the NDC and the NPP.
But Kamala, from your engagement with these members of Parliament, what are you picking? The introduction of new taxes maybe, or the scrapping of some taxes like the COVID levy or the e-levy, for instance? What are your sources telling you?
Largely, a good number of them agree that yes, there's some general hardship, and so introduction of new taxes would further deepen the woes of Ghanaians. But the suggestion is, how do the country run without taxes? But the larger consideration also is has been that it should be streamlined such that it will not be draconian on the ordinary Ghanaian. Even if there's an introduction of taxes, it should be such that it should not be too biting on Ghanaians. And so, while the MPP MPs say that the country cannot be run without taxes, especially where we find ourselves now as a country in terms of being before the IMF, there's a need for some modalities or some streamlining to be done where recovery will be assured. So for them, they do not necessarily see anything wrong with it. At the other side, which is the NDC minority MPs, they are already averse to it. Anything that nature, no. And also a review of the already existing taxes, just like you said, the COVID levy, the e-levy and the others. It should be reviewed because it's having a negative toll on businesses in the country.
Right. Thank you so much, Komla Kluche, for joining us on the program. My colleague Komla Kluche joined us from Parliament with the expectations of members of Parliament ahead of the presentation by the Finance Minister. Now, let's take you to the courts right now, because the Supreme Court has dismissed an application by Daily Searchlight editor Ken Cranch seeking to challenge the eligibility of John Dramani Mahama to contest the 2024 elections after the court found the application defective. Now, Mr. Crunchy, in June 2023, he filed a case against former President John Dramani Mahama, former President John Agyekum Kufuor, the Speaker of Parliament, and the Attorney General. He contended that a true and proper interpretation of the 1992 Constitution should lead one to the conclusion that only one person entitled to a second presidential term must be a sitting president. Well, that was his argument. Here's the editor of the Daily Searchlight newspaper, Ken Crunchy, after the court ruled.
As lawyers, when you come to court, sometimes you win, you draw, sometimes you draw, sometimes you lose. And you take it along in your stride and then go for a better day next time. Today was not my day. I think the next time I'll do better. I'll make sure the process is better than I come again. I think it is an advice that is well appreciated. I already have a master. We looked at these processes. Sometimes these oversights happen. So,
the voice of Ken Crunchy, who is the editor for the Daily Searchlight newspaper, says he's going to do his homework. Well, the Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC, Godwin Edigi Tamaklo, who was in court today, says the party is satisfied with the ruling despite the case being mischievous.
We are extremely grateful to the courts in agreeing with us, and we want to thank the court for this. And as you all heard from the arguments between him and the lawyers for H. John Dramani Mahama and the Speaker of Parliament, it was obvious that this process was just for mischief. It was not born out of any genuine desire to, as it were, enrich our constitutional democracy. Nothing whatsoever. On the merits, the procedure, everything is flawed. And that is what the Supreme Court, rightly so, pointed it out to him. As for the other admonition from the Supreme Court to him as a lawyer, I wouldn't want to repeat it. Wanted the court to be a forum for learning. I mean, that alone is telling the kind of work he's doing.
The voice of the Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC, Godwin Edigi Tamaklo, speaking there. Staying a while longer on issues concerning the courts, this time in the Ashanti region, all criminal cases involving jurors at the Kumasi High Court have stalled. Now, this is because the jurors have gone on strike over unpaid allowances. The strike, which began in March 2022, has effectively incapacitated the courts on their mandates to adjudicate cases. On Monday, the High Court was compelled to once again adjourn the trial of Police Inspector Ahmed Chuma, the accused who's been prosecuted for allegedly killing his lover. I'll be touching base with my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar from the Ashanti region to paint a broader picture for us on how this is impacting justice delivery in the Ashanti region. Now, back here in the capital to some news on politics. The governing New Patriotic Party, it has begun the vetting of aspiring candidates in their orphan constituencies. Now, the exercise will go through to Thursday, November 16 in all regional capitals across the country. This will be followed by an extraordinary constituency delegates conference on Saturday, December 2. Now, to elect its parliamentary candidates in constituencies where the party has no parliamentary representation, a statement issued by the party and signed by its General Secretary, Justin Frimpong Kodua, indicated that the decision was reached at a National Executive Committee meeting held on Friday, November 10, 2023. The new date for the conduct of the primaries for the other constituencies is now 20th January 2024, and nominations will open on 20th December 2023 and close on 22nd December 2023. My colleague Duke Mental Poku, he is of our political desk. He's following this development. He'll get in touch with us to tell us more about which constituencies have the aspiring members of parliament visiting the vetting committee of the party to be vetted in their quest to be elected as members of parliament to represent their constituencies on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party. We'll touch base with Duke Mensa Opoku shortly with some more happenings on the vetting of the NPP parliamentary candidates in orphan constituencies. You're watching Midday Live on TV you're listening to Midday News Bulletin on 3FM 92.7. Yes, you're watching us also on all our social media platforms at 3FM 927. My name is Noble Crosby Annan. Let's bring you some more stories this afternoon. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Gbagben, has advocated for the adoption of a comprehensive framework to safeguard religious rights and freedoms, particularly for students in public educational institutions. The Speaker laments the numerous instances where students have faced discrimination based on their religious orientation. He cited the case of the Achimota School and the 2 Rastafarian students, adding that there is an urgency in checking that. He was speaking at the launch of the Ghana Parliamentary Caucus on freedom of religion or belief in Accra.
This course is a good start, but we need to keep improving upon it to prevent a relapse in the future. Let us work together to address the gaps or loose ends in this endeavor and build a brighter future for our society. We must have a clear regulatory framework that protects individual religious rights and freedoms and defines the responsibilities of publicly financed institutions, particularly in the context of elementary and secondary education. Allow me to highlight the 2 Rastafarian students who were asked to cut their dreadlocks before being admitted to the Achimota Secondary School. Although this is a sensitive topic, we cannot shy away from these difficult and controversial discussions if we want to move forward and create a society that respects everyone's right to practice his or her religion. I was appalled when I heard and read about it. And I was shocked that people of scholar were supporting it.
You had the voice of the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Gbagben, there. In a related development, if you like, the Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religion has justified its move to introduce a national policy on religion. The sector minister, Asamoah Boateng, says the document has become important to regulate religious activities and promote harmony, peace between various religious organizations and religions in the country.
It has become imperative for a mutual understanding and working together to continue to enjoy the peace in this country. It is in this regard that my ministry has been working with key stakeholders to put together a draft proposed government policy for direction of religion designed to protect the rights and freedom of all of us, regardless of our beliefs or non-beliefs. It has to be understood without any doubt that constitutional guarantees of rights to religion and its beliefs are not absolute and may be subject to some limitations that are prescribed by law and are necessary to protect public safety, public order, public health, morals, or the fundamental rights and freedom of others.
The voice of the Chieftaincy Minister, Asamoah Boateng, there. Bringing to an end the afternoon news here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Noble Crosby Annan. And just before we go, let's remind you of our top stories this afternoon. Government and representatives of labor unions racing against time to conclude negotiations on base pay for public sector workers ahead of the 2024 budget presentation tomorrow, after meeting on Monday ended inconclusive. Also this afternoon, the Supreme Court has given the NDC flag bearer John Dramani Mahama all clear to contest the 2024 general elections after the court dismissed the case challenging the eligibility of former President John Dramani Mahama to contest the 2024 polls. That's how we wrap up on the bulletin. There's more news on our website, 3news.com. My name is Noble Crosby Annan. Business News is up next with Bismarck Hausa. Good afternoon.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.
Breaking news.
Hello, good afternoon. It's time now for Business Daily. Coming up, inflation drops for the third consecutive month to 35.2% from 38.1% recorded in September 2023. We will hear from the government statistician, Professor Samuel Kwabena Annan.
Inflation, which signifies the third consecutive drop, slowdown in the rate of inflation, is 2.9 percentage points lower than the rate that was recorded for September 2023.
Also, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta set to unveil 2024 budget on Wednesday, November 15, as financial statement is expected to support IMF-backed post-COVID-19 program of economic growth. We will bring you details. Meanwhile, mixed reactions greet the 2024 budget presentation, and ahead, we will hear from industries as well as farmers.
Our view is that this policy statement, which is the budget, should be used as a mechanism to tackle some of these issues. We want to see GRE tighten up the borders and ensure that some of these fake products are not being smuggled to the country.
I am Bismarck Kausa. These and other stories lined up for you. Stay with me. Thanks for your company. Now to our very first story. Inflation has dropped for the third consecutive time to 35.2% from 38.1% recorded in September 2023. Data from the Ghana Statistical Service showed that the decrease in the general inflation rate being attributed to the marginal drop in food inflation. Food inflation in the period was 44.8%, while non-food was 27.7%. Professor Samuel Kwabena Annan is government statistician.
For the month of October 2023, consumer price index stood at 195.2 relative to 144.4 that was recorded for the same time, October 2022. Given these two indices, rate of inflation for the month of October 2023 stood at 35.2, which literally means that between October 2022 and October 2023, prices of goods and services went up by 35.2%. This rate of inflation, which signifies the third consecutive drop, slowdown in the rate of inflation, is 2.9 percentage points lower than the rate that was recorded for September 2023, which had a rate of inflation of 38.1%. We disaggregate this rate of inflation from two perspectives: food and non-food inflation, and locally produced items and imported items. Between food and non-food inflation, food inflation was 44.8% for the month of October 2023, relative to 27.7% for non-food inflation for the same time, October 2023. The slowdown in food inflation is sharper as it decreased by 4.6% percentage point between September 2023 and October 2023, relative to the 1.6 percentage point drop for non-food inflation as it declined from 29.3% to 27.7% for the month of October 2023. From a locally produced item and in an imported item perspective, we recorded a 2.6 percentage point drop between inflation for imported items and inflation for locally produced items, with inflation for imported items 37.0% and inflation for locally produced items 34.4%.
And that was government statistician Professor Samuel Kwabena Annan. Now, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is set to unveil the much-anticipated 2024 annual budget statement and economic policy. Scheduled for presentation to Parliament on Wednesday, 15th November 2023, the financial statement assumes critical importance as it aligns with the IMF-backed post-COVID-19 program of economic growth following the successful first review of the three-year $3 billion extended credit facility. The following report has more. With its roots deeply embedded in the IMF-supported program, the Finance Ministry said the budget is tailored to propel the country's economic revival. The presentation by Ken Ofori-Atta follows the successful first review of the three-year $3 billion IMF ECF program
marking a significant stride in Ghana's commitment to fiscal prudence. The budget announcement, scheduled for Wednesday, 15th November 2023, promises insights into multifaceted dimensions. Expected highlights include the economic performance overview, a look at the new growth strategy designed to amplify the country's productive capacity, fiscal measures aimed at fostering economic stability, and strategic debt management approaches for sustained growth. As part of customary practice, the government is expected to engage in an extensive post-budget stakeholder dialogue. This initiative aims to break down the details of the proposed policies, ensuring transparency and fostering a comprehensive understanding among the public. According to the Finance Ministry, the outcome of the 2024 budget is not merely fiscal. It's a strategic roadmap for Ghana's economic resurgence, signaling a concerted effort to chart a course for sustainable growth in the challenging global landscape. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Still on the budget, and the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, is calling on the government to address key issues such as smuggling and the removal of taxes on raw materials at the ports. AGI contends that these measures are crucial for the thriving of local manufacturers in the upcoming year and would serve as tangible evidence of the government's commitment to fostering the growth of local industries. Here's more.
All through the year, businesses in the country, including the manufacturing sector, faced a plethora of challenges. Industry players grappled with a depreciating currency, heightened taxes, and elevated inflation levels, compounding existing challenges such as the high cost of doing business and escalating power costs. Despite the government's prior commitments to ensuring economic stability and growth, the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, underscores the urgency of addressing these specific challenges to provide a conducive environment for local industries. As the budget presentation approaches, AGI emphasizes the need to tackle smuggling as a crucial measure to safeguard local producers.
Because they don't pay the taxes at the port, they come very cheap and handy. And consumers most times just go for the cheapest. So making us suffer. Because once they are not buying our product, then we are unable to continue to employ people. Then we have to downsize our factory sites and all of that. Our view is that this policy statement, which is the budget, should be used as a mechanism to tackle some of these issues that are bothering us. We want to see GRA tighten up the borders and ensure that some of these fake products are not being smuggled to the country.
The association also advocates for enhancing the competitiveness of manufacturers by eliminating taxes on raw materials that cannot be sourced locally.
Currently, the situation is that we are struggling to compete with the fake and imported, some of these fake and also imported products that we witness. And if the government is desirous of ensuring that next year becomes the true year of private sector, which is what we are made to believe, then our prayer is that the budget should be used to properly lay the foundation for private sector to take off.
Michael Lobodu, 3 Business, Accra.
Meanwhile, Executive Director of the Peasant Farmers Association, Dr. Charles Nyaba, is calling on the government to restore tax waivers on agricultural inputs and equipment. He believes this measure will help to ease inflation in the coming fiscal year. Dr. Nyaba argues high taxes on agricultural inputs contributed significantly to the high cost of food in Ghana in the 2023 fiscal year.
Because government itself, in its own wisdom, saw that agriculture is a critical area, there were some waivers. If you are bringing tractors, if you are bringing fertilizers, if you are bringing seeds, agrochemical, veterinary medication, there were waivers on import duties. Now all those waivers have been taken off. In most occasions, because of those waivers taken off, cost of inputs, the taxes alone, is more than the value of the inputs. So this led to most of the input prices actually doubling in 2023. And we all know the importance of agriculture sector. We are talking about inflation. We are talking about the depreciation of the currency. Okay, we are talking about import substitution, and agriculture played that role very well. So our expectations is that government will think twice and turn attention to agriculture, ensure that proper investment, proper budget is allocated to the agriculture sector.
And that was Executive Director of the Peasant Farmers Association, Dr. Charles Nyaba, on the 2024 budget expectations. And in Business Daily with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please log on to 3news.com. Urban Blend continues with Black Rasta. Do stay.
Gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.